Imagine being stranded at school at 11 p.m., watching the very last bus drive away, only to realize the person you were supposed to meet doesn't even exist. My girlfriend thought she was meeting a millionaire for a secret date, but instead, she got a 3-hour walk of shame and a text message that destroyed her life. Here is how I caught my cheating ex in the ultimate trap. I used to be the kind of guy who laughed at romance novels and thought that finding the one was just a clever marketing scam designed to sell Hallmark cards. But then I met her, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I had actually beaten the system. On a scale of 1 to 10, she was a solid 9, the kind of girl who possessed that rare combination of effortless natural beauty and a sharp intellectual wit that could keep up with anyone. When we walked into a room together, I could feel the envious eyes of every other guy on us, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a massive sense of pride. I thought I had lucked out. I thought I had found the exception to the rule. Our connection didn't just happen overnight. It was a slow, deliberate burn that felt more authentic than anything I'd ever experienced before. We spent about 6 months in that agonizing, electric, friends but not friends stage. You know the one, where you're texting until 3 in the morning, sharing your deepest secrets and hanging out every single day, but neither person has the guts to be the first to blink. It was 6 months of building a foundation of what I thought was absolute, unbreakable trust and genuine friendship. We were each other's person, or so I let myself believe. Then came the night that changed the trajectory of my life. We were just sitting there, the atmosphere quiet and heavy with all the things we hadn't dared to say yet, when she looked me dead in the eye and finally dropped the L-bomb. She told me she loved me. I remember my heart hitting my ribs like a hammer. I didn't even have to think about my response. I told her I felt the exact same way. From that moment on, we were officially a couple, and for the next year we were the gold standard for everyone we knew. We went on trips, we planned our future, and we integrated our lives so completely that I couldn't imagine a world without her in it. I was so blinded by her looks and her smart persona that I never bothered to look for the cracks in the armor. I thought I had found a teammate, someone who would always have my back. I was living in a total dream world, completely unaware that I was dating a master of disguise. I was a year into a perfect relationship until a single arrogant comment on a Facebook photo turned my world upside down and started a chain reaction of revenge that she never saw coming. Everything seemed perfect until the day the mask finally started to slip. It started with something as simple as a Facebook photo. I had posted a sweet, slightly cheesy comment on one of her new pictures, just a boyfriend being supportive and showing some love. But then, a notification popped up that made my blood run cold. A guy I had never seen before replied to my comment, but he wasn't just a random stranger. He told me, right there in front of everyone, that I was too slow on the draw. He didn't stop there. He openly mocked me, calling himself her Prince Charming and acting like he already owned the place. My heart sank. This wasn't just a troll, this was the kind of confidence that only comes when two people have been talking behind closed doors. The red flags weren't just waving, they were screaming. When I confronted her, I expected a sincere apology or a logical explanation. Instead, I got the classic cheater script. She looked me in the eyes with a straight face and insisted they were just friends and that they had only started talking a month ago. But I could see the shift in her energy. The air in the room felt thin. I knew right then that if I didn't take a stand, I'd be the guy being played for a fool while she explored her options. I decided to put it all on the line. I gave her a hard ultimatum. Either she cuts all contact with this Prince Charming immediately, or I walk out that door and never look back. I waited, hoping she would realize what we had was worth more than some random guy's attention. But then, she said the words that shattered everything. She chose him. She actually looked at me and said she couldn't let him go because he's a really great guy. Just like that, a year of memories was tossed in the trash for a great guy she barely knew. I walked away with my head held high, but the pain was a dull roar in the back of my mind. I thought that was the end of our story. I thought I was just another casualty of a girl who didn't know what she wanted. But as the weeks passed, a dark realization started to settle in. I wasn't just going to move on, I was going to find out exactly how deep her loyalty, or her lack of it, really went. And then, exactly 30 days later, my phone buzzed with a message I never expected to see. She was back, and she was crying. But what she didn't know was that I was already 3 steps ahead of her, and the game I was about to play was far more dangerous than the one she started. Exactly 30 days after she chose Prince Charming over me, she came crawling back. Her voice was trembling, her eyes were red from crying, and she was overflowing with apologies. Apparently, her really great guy wasn't so great after all. From what I gathered, he got exactly what he wanted from her, realized the chase was over, and bailed without a second thought. She was devastated, swearing up and down that she had made the biggest mistake of her life and that I was the only man she ever truly loved. I stood there listening to her meant-to-be speech, and part of me wanted to believe it, but a bigger part of me knew that a person who trades a year of history for a month of mystery hasn't changed. They just got burned. I decided right then that if she wanted to play games, I would become the Grandmaster. I looked her in the eye, accepted her apology, and made her swear an oath of total loyalty. I told her that if we did this again, there was no going back. She agreed, clinging to me like I was her savior, never realizing I was actually her judge. While I was playing the role of the forgiving boyfriend by day, I was a digital architect by night. This is where I created the ghost that would haunt her, Matt Vanguard. I didn't just throw a profile together, I engineered a masterpiece of deception. I found a library of photos of a guy who was objectively a 10-10, the kind of guy who looked like he owned a private jet but spent his weekends surfing in Bali. I filled the profile with high-end interests, added a believable network of friends, and crafted a backstory that screamed success and adventure. I even used a burner app to get a secondary phone number so Matt could text her without any trace leading back to me. Then I hit send on the friend request. The betrayal was almost instantaneous. Within 48 hours of swearing her undying, exclusive love to my face, she was already getting to know Matt. It was sickening. I would sit on the couch next to her watching a movie while I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket with a notification from her to my alter ego. I even tried to sabotage the persona to see if she had any standards. I made Matt act like an arrogant, self-centered prick. At one point, she texted him, "Good night, babe," and I replied as Matt, "Don't call me that. I'm not your babe. Got it?" Most girls would have blocked a guy for being that rude, but she didn't. She was so blinded by the Matt Vanguard image, the fancy car he supposedly drove, and the status he represented, that she actually apologized to him for being too forward. It was the ultimate proof. She wasn't back with me because she loved me. She was back with me because she was waiting for a better offer, and I was about to give her an offer she couldn't refuse. I decided the date was set. Matt told her he was coming to pick her up after her late-night classes in his luxury car for a date that would put everything else to shame. She was hooked, lined, and sunk. But as the night of the date approached, I started to realize that catching her wasn't enough. I wanted her to feel the weight of her choices in the most isolated, miserable way possible. The trap was laid, the bait was taken, and the sun was beginning to set on the last night she would ever spend thinking she was smarter than me. But there was one final test I had to run before the trap snapped shut, and her reaction to it was the final nail in the coffin.
The night of the final test arrived, and the tension was so thick I could practically taste it. I knew her schedule better than anyone. I knew her classes ran until the sun went down, and I knew that in our town, if you missed the last bus, you were essentially stranded in the dark. This was the foundation of my trap. As Matt, I told her I'd be picking her up right in front of the campus gates in a car she'd never forget. She was vibrating with excitement, her text to Matt filled with heart emojis and suggestive comments. But while I was texting her as this mystery man, the real me decided to twist the knife one last time. I sent her a text as her boyfriend, asking if she wanted to grab dinner after her class ended. I gave her one final chance to be honest, one final exit ramp to save herself. She didn't even hesitate. She lied straight to my face, claiming she had a mandatory extracurricular seminar and that a female friend from class was already scheduled to give her a ride home. Reading that message while sitting in my room felt like a physical punch, but it was also the fuel I needed to finish this. I replied, "Okay, have fun, love you," while my skin crawled with disgust. The clock struck 9 p.m. Her classes were over, most students were heading home, and the campus was becoming a ghost town. She messaged Matt, "I'm out, are you close? If not, I have to hurry and catch the bus because they stop running in 20 minutes. This was the moment of no return. I waited exactly 19 minutes before replying as Matt. I told her I was stuck at work finishing up a high-stakes project, but that I was peeling out of the parking lot now. I told her to wait, that the date would be worth the wait. She stayed. She stood there on the curb watching the very last bus of the night pull up, wait for 30 seconds, and then hiss its way down the street without her. She was officially stranded, and she didn't even care because she thought a millionaire in a supercar was 5 minutes away. But 5 minutes turned into 30. 30 turned into an hour. The temperature was dropping and the streetlights were the only things keeping her company. She started blowing up Matt's phone. "Hey, where are you? It's getting really cold out here and the school is locking the gates." I sent the next stall. "Babe, you won't believe this. I was speeding to get to you and I just got pulled over. This cop is being a total jerk. He's taking forever with my registration. Please don't be mad. I'm doing this for us." She was fuming, but she was trapped. She had no bus, no ride, and she had lied to the only person who actually would have come to save her. She sat there for 2 hours in the freezing dark, her anger boiling over into desperation. She was pissed, as she would later describe it. She was at her absolute breaking point, pacing back and forth on the sidewalk, checking every pair of headlights that passed by, hoping it was her Prince Charming finally arriving to rescue her. She sent one final aggressive text. "Matt, if you aren't here in 5 minutes, I'm calling a cab. This is ridiculous." I took a deep breath, looked at the 2 phones sitting on my desk, and realized that the girl I loved was officially gone. It was time for the reveal. I didn't send a cab. I sent the truth. The next message she received wasn't about a car or an excuse. It was a cold, hard reflection of exactly who she was. And the look on her face when she read it is something I would give anything to have seen in person. The silence of the empty campus was deafening as she stared at her phone, her fingers trembling from a mix of cold and pure rage. She had been waiting for over 2 hours. She was exhausted, her phone battery was dying, and she was stranded in a part of town that felt a lot less safe after midnight. She sent one last, desperate text to Matt, demanding to know where he was. I sat in my dark room, the glow of the 2 phones illuminating my face. It was time to end the charade. I didn't send another excuse about traffic or police. Instead, I typed out 7 words as Matt that would change her life. "Sorry, I don't go out with lying whores." The response was almost instant. You could feel the confusion and panic through the screen. "What? What are you talking about? Who is this?" she typed back, her world clearly spinning. I didn't let her wonder for long. I sent the follow-up that shattered the illusion. "This isn't Matt. This is Anan." There was a long, haunting pause. I could imagine her standing under that flickering streetlight, the realization sinking in like ice water. Finally, the bubble ... appeared. "You guys know each other?" she asked, still desperately trying to find a way to make this a misunderstanding. I delivered the final blow. "No, we don't know each other because Matt doesn't exist. I created him to see if you were still an unfaithful and you proved me right, every single second of it." The desperation turned into a pathetic attempt at damage control. She actually had the nerve to tell me she wasn't really going to meet him, that she was just playing along. I didn't even give her the satisfaction of an argument. I simply messaged her one last time. Don't ever talk to me again. And I suggest you start walking. You definitely miss your bus. Then I blocked her on everything. She was 3 miles from home. It was nearly 1 a.m. The buses were long gone, and because she had spent the last month lying to everyone about her extracurriculars, she had no one to call. She had to walk. 3 hours in the cold, in heels, with nothing but her own thoughts and the crushing weight of her own choices to keep her company. Months went by before I heard from her again. She sent a long, rambling email since she was blocked everywhere else, apologizing for everything. She admitted that the 3-hour walk of shame was the lowest point of her life. She said the memory of walking through those dark streets, crying and shivering, replayed in her head every single night. I told her I appreciated the apology, but I lied and told her I had moved on to a new, loyal girlfriend. I told her I'd never date her again, even if she were the last person on earth. For her, that night was a nightmare that ruined her self-esteem. For me, it was the most peaceful sleep I've ever had. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but in this case, a 3-hour walk in the freezing dark was exactly what she deserved. Subscribe the channel if you want to watch more about this. Also, like the video.